So what is up, guys? My name is Ryan. We are going to be hanging out and talking all about the new massive bill that's been proposed here in the state of Florida. It's proposed on a federal level to highly regulate all semi-automatic firearms. So this would make it, well, we'll dive into that in just a second, but it will be very restrictive, very crazy. And we're going to kind of discuss if this is actually going to stop violent crime or not. So let me just say what's up to everybody that's here. What's up, Andrew, Nelson, Vinny, Kathy. Make sure, Nelson, Vinny, Kathy, anybody that wants to talk, make sure you raise your hand and we will get you up on the stage so we can kind of have a good conversation here. So, you know, this bill was proposed just a few days ago, and it basically says that all semi-automatic rifles and shotguns would need to fall underneath the regulation of the National Firearms Act. So if you guys remember, the National Firearms Act was passed originally in 1934. It was recodified in 1968 under the Gun Control Act, and it basically highly restricts certain firearms in America. So machine guns, suppressors, destructive devices, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns. I own about 12 NFA items, and I have to pay a $200 tax every time I buy one of these items. It's a huge pain in the ass. Anybody got any comments on here? Nelson, Vinny. Can you hear me, Nelson?
Yeah, okay. You got me?
I can hear you. What's up, buddy?
Oh, it's good. If I cut it in and out, I'm working, Buffalo Bills, so I might have to pick up a phone or something. But on that, I think it's really just too late to just have everybody start, registering all these guns to become NFA compliant. It's just I don't know who's even proposed it. I didn't see the bill yet. I didn't run it, but I'm gonna look for it now because we just can't do this. Just too many guns, and all the manufacturers they're gonna go crazy.
How do you mean? What are the manufacturers going to do?
Well, right now, if anything NFA, it'll slow down their sales completely.
Oh, of course, it's gonna destroy the entire firearms community, man. But that's the goal, Nelson. I think you know that.
Yep. Yep. It's just I don't think it's gonna fly. They're gonna try, but I just don't think they'll be. There's got to be a big pushback for it.
Yeah, what do you think the pushback is going to be? How are we going to fight back on something like this?
Uh, Besides like NRA, besides the uh, Gun Owners of America, all those will be putting a lawsuit against it. It,
Yeah.
it just can't. It's going to be a whole new regulation. It, I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening.
You know
You?
I think what's scary about this, Nelson, is that they never stop. They just keep proposing and pushing more stuff. So because they keep pushing these things, they keep on trying to create more and more just ridiculous gun laws. I think eventually they're going to get stuff through. And the reality is, I think it was 2019, over 200 new gun control laws went into effect in 2019. So and if we look at just the state of Florida, right? So in the state of Florida, every year, probably 50 to 75 gun control bills are proposed in the state of Florida every year. And these are restrictive anti-gun bills. Maybe 5 are pro-gun bills every year. So how do we deal with that when we know that we're at a pretty big disadvantage? What do you think?
Same thing. Writing to Congress, writing to our representatives, and you know, voice it. Because otherwise, in that, people who don't want it, they're going to be really annoyed. You're going to see a lot of guns coming on the black market after that.
Yeah, you
If it
think there will
really,
be a huge black market?
yeah, yeah, yeah. After that, I mean, I'm here in the business, and you hear people talk. Oh, if they do this, I'm just going to sell it out in the street. I'm not going to lose my money. Blah blah blah.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's It's I don't know. It's getting out of hand, and they're doing it every state, little by little, little by little. Every one little law, one little law. It's got to be to a point where it's going to conflict with the state, with the federal law, and I don't know where it's going to go from there. They're just going to say what banned it. People are going to get tired of it and either give in
Maybe.
or yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
maybe. Vinny, are you able to jump on this conversation, man? There you are.
There you go. I'm sorry about that, dude. I was a little busy a couple minutes ago.
Oh, were you? Okay. So what do you think, Vinny, about this this new push to ban semi-automatic rifles and semi-automatic shotguns?
Well, like you said earlier, they're never going to stop. They're never going to stop. They're never going to be happy. First, first they're gonna go after the AR-14s. Haha, Joe Biden.
You
Next
call,
nine
did you
millimeters.
call it an AR-14 on purpose? Or
Yeah, I said like
okay.
Joe Biden. Haha.
Whew.
Remember we're gonna go after the AR-14s. He wants to go after. Then he's gonna go after the 9 millimeters. Then he's gonna go after the capacity of the. They're never going to be happy. He said, oh, just get a double barrel shotgun. They're going to be so happy until they get down to the double barrel shotguns, and they're going to want to take them away too.
Because frankly, that's what happened in Australia, right? Is they kind of said, hey, we only want to ban these guns. Now we're going to ban these. And then they're like, actually, we want to ban everything.
Right. And if you look at the statistics through the CDC, how many people get killed more with hands and feet, knives, other items, much more than rifles by themselves, but even guns together. It's ridiculous the amount. But how are they going to ban hand and feet or knives or blunt objects?
I'm trying to pull up because I actually have all this written down. So yeah, here we go. All right. So in the United States in 2019, which is the last time this data was available. So vehicle deaths caused 38,000 deaths in America. Cigarettes was 480,000. Medical malpractice was 250,000. Drug-related deaths was 70,000. Diabetes was 84,000. Drunk driving was 10,000. And firearm deaths were 13,000. And of that, we have, actually, I guess I didn't document how many with guns, or how many with rifles. Of that, it's like less than 2% of people are actually getting killed with a semi-automatic rifle or shotgun. So if we know that that's nonsense, that these statistics are actually proving our point, why do they keep pushing for something that we already know the numbers tell us something totally different?
I think they know that by banning all the guns, there's nobody to confront them. Look what happened in the steps in Washington D.C. Imagine if everybody was armed there, what would happen? Nobody
Yeah.
was there who really was armed, but if everybody was armed, because everybody owns it, so if they take it away, there's nobody to confront them.
Let me
That's
tell you,
my thought.
man, that January 6th incident, if people would have had guns there, we would be, the Second Amendment community would be in a lot of trouble. They are manipulating that event like wild, right? I think everybody would agree. They are manipulating the shit out of it. And if people would have had guns, like that's all they wanted was for somebody to pull out a gun at that event. And then there would be even more talk of taking our rights away. It would
Remember
be
when they
insane.
marched on the Virginia Capitol? Everybody was armed. Everybody was packed,
True.
and it was peaceful.
It was.
Imagine if
You're actually very right. It was very peaceful. And I was worried for that event too, man, because it just takes one like scumbag Antifa person to kind of pick a fight, whatever. A gunshot goes off. Let's say it's totally an accident. Like you guys heard, there was this TPD officer here in Tampa that shot himself recently. He claims that he just touched his holster and his gun discharged, shot himself in the leg. But imagine if something like that happened at that Virginia protest. They would manipulate the hell out of it. Crazy Paul had a gun and tried to kill people, right? That would be the freaking headline.
yeah, it's rough. We gotta just, and I can't even see because I sell guns to people that I really wish I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, Nelson works at Buffalo Bills in Orlando. Really awesome gun store. We featured it in an episode of Guns and Tacos. It's really cool. So if you guys are ever in Orlando, go check it out. Buffalo Bills, right? That's the name?
Yes.
So, like, give me an example of people that come into the store that you inside you're like, I don't know if I want this person to have a gun or not.
Yeah, some of them are like, it's just shady. They really gangster, that type, you know,
Yeah.
or just crazy, just really, really, you know, talking to themselves and stuff. And there's nothing online that says I could say, you know, hey, I can't sell you. There's a turnaround and sue. You know, if on 4473, it was a little check mark, like continue checking this person. You know, I could check it and it goes through and they'll take it from there. I would have checked it.
Yeah, I got to be honest. When we had the gun store, there were multiple times people came in that I was like, I'm not selling you a gun, dude. I think I've shared the story before, but a guy came into our gun store and he was a young dude, very skinny. Like, if you guys think I'm skinny, this guy was super skinny. And he came in and he said, I want to know everything there is to know about an AR-15. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't have time to teach you that, but I can show you a couple things. So I started showing him some stuff about the rifle. And he said, if I walked into a building and there was 30 cows in the building, how would I kill all the cows really fast with this gun? It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Now, at this point, there's like probably 10 or 12 people in the store. Everybody in the building is like, that was a very strange comment. So people started moving around and getting away from him. So then he said, okay, what if I walked into a building and there was like 5 cows? What if I walked in and there's 5 cows? Would I just pull the trigger and go like this? And I said, you sound like a freaking terrorist, bro. And I said, you just got to get out. I took the gun from him. I said, you got to get the hell out. Because I'm not selling this dude a gun and then having Channel 10 or ABC Action News standing in front of my business. Why did you sell this guy a gun? Have you guys ever had people like that? What's up, Paul?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
What are your thoughts on this topic?
Somebody like that, I wouldn't even want them in my store. That's crazy.
Yeah.
People, there's a lot of crazy people out in society now. You just never know. It could be your next door neighbor. You just never know.
Yeah, that's really the scary part, isn't it? Is that it could be a neighbor, could be your kid's teacher. You just don't know.
Could be a brother-in-law, cousin. You just don't know. People just snap.
Yeah. So what do you think about this new regulation of trying to ban semi-automatic rifles that have a detachable magazine?
That's almost every semi-automatic. It's just the gunners are going crazy. We need people on our side. We need more people that are for guns. We don't have enough people to talk for us. But you have hundreds of people against us.
Yeah.
We need people like in the government, more people to fight against these guys. We don't have the voices. That's the problem.
Okay, so for everybody watching on the live stream, there's the better link. I guess the link I was sending was messed up. So if you guys want to join the conversation, if you want to actually talk, which would be great, I'd love it. Click that link right there. Join us on Clubhouse, and you can kind of share your thoughts here. So yeah, I agree with you, Paul. I think that we, unfortunately, as the Second Amendment community, we're pretty calm, I would say, most times. We're pretty quiet and pretty reserved. What's up, Bill?
What's up, brother?
And I think that's a major negative sometimes. I think we got to let our voices be heard, or we really are going to lose our rights. Bill, what do you think about this this topic of banning semi-automatic firearms? Is this going to help, Bill or Joe, is this going to help stop gun violence in America?
No, this ain't going to stop. Just like Paul was saying, we just don't have enough people to back us up on the Second Amendment.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
Well, we just need people that have a voice to be with us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this world's getting crazy every day, man. I mean, just look what happened in Chicago. You know, that officer died for no reason at all.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't read much into it. I heard that they arrested, it was two brothers, right? That ended up killing him.
Yeah, it was two brothers.
Okay. Was there a motivation or was it just a total random act of violence?
It was
Go
a
ahead,
traffic
Nathan.
stop,
Yeah, it was a traffic stop.
and they shot. I heard the radio call, and basically, it was a female officer and her partner. They both got shot, and they tried to rush them to the hospital, and they were trying to revive, but they stopped on the female. She was shot right between the eyebrows, and that was pretty it. Just they got stopped. They know they had guns in the car, and they get. I think they had one was on probation or something. They got out of jail, so they know just getting caught with the gun, they would have went back to
And
jail.
the other officer got shot in the. It was the right eye, Nelson.
That one I didn't know the condition. I know that I followed the other Ellie French was her name.
Yeah,
And
the other one got shot in the right eye.
yeah,
Wow.
So he's in critical condition.
Okay, but he's still alive then. That's
yeah.
at least.
What really got me out of that, besides that, fine, the chief of police was there making a speech, yada yada yada. But what the hell's that crazy?
Lightfoot.
The mayor Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Oh, she starts with how she started. This is all her fault.
Dude,
All of this violence
yeah.
is her fault. She started this. She started with letting not arresting people, getting off with the police and everything, and it just went crazy. And they continue to do it.
Yeah,
it was really annoying.
I think she's been a really terrible mayor, but they need to get her out if the people care and if the people are paying attention to how bad she is. I don't understand why people live in those types of environments, especially I understand if you don't have any money, how you can kind of be trapped. But even still, dude, I would get the hell out. If I had to like hustle cans or whatever just to move somewhere else, I would get the hell out. I am not staying in a place like that with my family.
It's when you live in a place like that and you're I guess I can't say accustomed to it. You live in the poverty line. You just can't make it out. But you know what? You don't have to live a life of crime to be poor. I don't know if it's making sense. You don't have to be dirty. You could still watch your neighborhood. You could still be clean. And, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Joe Yeager, what are your thoughts?
What concerns me is that once you put something in place, so let's say that the anti-gunners get their way on the semi-automatic weapons, which I don't believe will happen that easily. But if, let's say they do, the difficulty is going to be to go back and regain that right, not privilege, but that right to then have semi-automatic with detachable magazines come back as legal items. And that is what concerns me, is that the language is about we're gonna do this, and then if we lose the House and the Senate, now we have to go through the whole process again to propose all over again and go through this circus again to try to potentially get some of that back. And that's my concern on any of those things, is that once we lose them, the battle to get them back is going to be just as hellish and as going through it now.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to not let it happen, we have to do whatever we can. I'm not saying we're not doing everything we can, but what can we do more of? What can our legislators do more of?
Yeah, I completely agree. that's kind of, there's always been a lot of talk, and there's been several attempts to pull suppressors off of the NFA registration.
It's a big group.
But, so Nelson, I'm going to mute you, buddy. Once the suppressors got put on the NFA registration, getting them back off, I mean, it's been since 1934, and we still haven't been successful. It is extremely difficult once they take a right away to ever get that right back. It's kind of like what's happening right now with COVID-19. I mean, this is really insane, in my opinion. This is really crazy. And it just shows a tyrannical government that has gotten a wild taste for power. And I don't know if they're ever going to let the grip that they have on the American population with COVID, I don't know if they're ever going to let that go. And I think it's the same thing. If we give them even an inch with gun control, I don't think we will ever get it back.
And I agree with you on that. And what concerns is that there is a snowball effect that is naturally going to, and we all know, everybody discussed that. I'm not saying anything anybody else doesn't know. It's going to seep in to the neighborhoods, not just the inner city, because criminals are naturally going to get their guns and get their weapons. They're not going to be less violent. They're going to be more violent.
Yeah.
And you're looking at these police officers who just got hit. The way that I see us and the way that you always teach, Ryan, is us being sheepdogs. The whole relationship with law enforcement for us as permit holders or gun owners is that we have each other's back, right? In Florida, especially, where law enforcement is respected, the governor is not even considering anything, and the laws are more in favor of protecting the citizens from rioters, law enforcement from being defunded or disrespected. So we have that advantage now. And I'm not saying we're the only state, but if a police officer is in trouble, we are having the rights that we have now gives us the opportunity to be on scene and potentially help out. I'm not saying that we should always do that, but if we need to step in, we can. If
Sure.
they take away that, where's the police force going to be? Even if they're going to say, we're going to fund the police with all the equipment you need, they're still going to be outnumbered and they're going to be outgunned.
But they're defunding the police. They're telling the police, hey, we want you to keep us more safe, but there has to be less of you. And we're going to cut your budget by 50%. But you still have to keep us safe. It's absolutely ludicrous. Go ahead, Bill.
It doesn't make sense. It
It don't. But Ryan, let me ask you this: do you think it's going to come down to, let's say that this corruptive government we got now with this clown in office gets to defund the police? Do you think the police department and the chiefs and all the counties are going to say, hey, Ryan, you got a concealed weapon. We want to deputize you to guard your neighborhood and this business and all that? Do you think it's going to come down to that, where the gun owners are going to be helping the police out?
I think that's very possible, Bill. I think places like Texas and probably certain areas of Florida, I can definitely see that would be a very viable kind of option. But here's my take on what they're going to do here. It's just like what's happening with COVID, right? So I think COVID is a real disease. I think we all know that it's a real virus. People are getting sick. Some people are dying. Most people will not die, right? But they keep pushing in the news. They keep shoving it down everybody's throats. And they're just making it a very, very big deal. So then that causes more and more fear. And then more and more people are wanting to go get vaccinated, which is great. You want to get vaccinated, it's up to you. Go do it. But they just keep pushing it. They never stop talking about it, even though statistically it is not that big of a deal. So it's the same thing with the guns, right? They're going to keep saying guns are dangerous, guns are violent. They're going to try to pass some crazy law. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that will not comply with whatever law they pass. So here's what's going to happen. Let's say we got Paul, right? Paul is not complying. He's got a Glock 19 or whatever that has a detachable mag, which according to some BS law is now regulated or illegal. Paul gets caught with that. They're going to make a huge event out of prosecuting him, giving him 20, 30 years in prison. And that's going to be flooded all over social media, TV. And then people like Nelson are going to go, shit, man, I don't want to go to prison for 20 years. I'm just going to throw my gun in the ocean, or I'm going to go register it or whatever. And I think that's how they're going to slowly wean. That's what happened with the NFA Act, right? Lots of people did not comply with the NFA Act. But then more and more people started getting arrested. More and more people started going to prison. And eventually, most people complied. Go ahead, Steven.
Well, does the M1 Garand count, since that's a 8-round clip and not a magazine?
Probably. I don't know. They probably, Dianne Feinstein with the first federal assault weapons ban that happened in 1994. She left a lot of open room in that the way that she worded everything, and I think they've learned from that. It probably would include an M1 Garand. What's funny is the M1 Garand has probably been used in more violent acts in the world than any other firearm in history. You got to think the what was it? So the Korean War, Vietnam, it was used in World War II, I believe. So
it was the predominant weapon for infantry in World War II.
It was. Okay. All right.
So, but yeah, no, and as far as I believe Paul was chiming in, as far as assisting police officers, I'm a medic, and I carry a plate carrier in my pickup truck so that when I'm driving around, if I come upon an emergency situation, that I can assist and even reload, because I don't carry like my AR with me all the time, but
sure,
if I need to assist, medically assist, think of it more like a technical medic, or since you were in the Air Force, basically a pararescueman.
Yeah.
That's the kind of point of view I take. I'm gonna protect somebody, especially if I'm trying to save their life. So, if you disarm me, then look how many medics that were in the military, Army medics, during World War II, who were non-combatants.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those guys died because they weren't able to protect themselves or do anything?
Sure.
So, yeah, if we start completely disarming our society, if we completely disarm all of our civilians, then it's not going to work out in the long run. I think we won't have any way to defend ourselves, and then we are going to be subjected to a tyrannical environment.
Sure. Any thoughts, Paul? Vinny, Nelson, Joe?
I think that based on what Steven said is, I can see a lot of people not only not complying, but all these militias that you're talking about that are out in the woods that are actually training like armies.
Yeah.
You're going to see all skirmishes, and I'm not saying they're going to win and all that, but it's going to make a huge statement of the fact that you can't go and do this and expect that Waco, Texas-like situations are
gonna freaking happen.
What's that?
That they're gonna happen, right? Like you can only push us so far and have us be like compliant and calm. There is a breaking point in everything, and yeah.
And that is what now they're going to go and say, which we know it's not gonna fly like it did back then because we have social media.
Sure.
They're gonna say, well, we gave you a chance to comply and you didn't, therefore we had to use force. And we were very clear, and all these militias have been trained, they know they're out there. They know this is going to happen. There is going to be in my opinion, a huge outcry of enough's enough. Like you said, Ryan, you've crossed the line. What is that line in the sand? that line in the sand will be crossed, and it will be very ugly. And so, is there a possibility, however minute you think it is, when we're sitting in our homes and we're looking outside and everything is calm, and wherever it is we live, and we go outside and live a normal life, there is a good chance that if they keep pushing this way, it may not be now, it may not be in 5 or 10 years, they continue on this path, it's going to happen. It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, so Bill just said, I'm going to read this statement, and then you guys that are speaking up here, I want to get your kind of opinions about this. So Bill says they want civil war. Do not fool yourself.
Yeah, I could see that. So they could condemn it all. But even if it happens, it'll be in 2, maybe 3 states: Florida, Texas.
We all know Texas and Florida are going to be holding it down, man.
Yep. And there's plenty of conversations here. What were they going to do? What's going to happen? Just like if they were going to come for the AR-15s, how people are going to bury. They ain't going to take them away. What they'll do, in my opinion, is they'll just make the law and to turn them in. Nobody will turn them in. But when you take it out, you got to use it. Somebody's going to rat you out. And that's when they're going to catch you.
Okay, Joe, what do you think about that statement? They want civil war.
I think that it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they want, but what they will do is they will not make it look like it's their fault.
Yeah, nothing's their fault.
Okay, so but they will get to the point where the rhetoric and the support they get for it, whether it's through people buying their propaganda, they will get enough support to justify their action. But what I don't believe will happen is I don't believe that they will get away with it. Not in the eyes of the world and not in the eyes of the population, because we are so divisive. If you think about it, the truth is, we saw this last election.
Yeah.
Let's just say, and I suspect, I'm not saying everyone does feel that way, but I suspect that the likelihood is that it was nowhere near as far apart in votes as it was, even if they did win, which I doubt that it was that far apart in votes, which means that we are so divided down the middle that the opinion, if they want civil war, they are actually going to have a much larger majority legitimately, which is not going to come through votes, but legitimately support their agenda against gun control and every other asinine thing they're doing. They don't have that support right now, not legitimately. And so I think that if they have a civil war, it's going to be ugly and it's going to be numerous because there are just way too many people who are just not okay with what they're doing.
Yeah, I think
it will be bigger than we think.
I do agree with that. And I think it will be horrible for everyone. Like, we don't want civil war, man, right? So, like, the bloodiest battle that ever happened in America was a civil war. We don't want that. I don't want my children to see that. Imagine, like, the lack of food, the lack of stability, the economy would totally collapse. I mean, it would just be an epic disaster. We do not want that. And I pray to God that it never happens, but it might. Bill, go ahead, Joe, finish up.
No, I just don't think that anybody wanted a civil war to happen either. But
True.
Again, there was such a division on one particular item.
Yep.
And the only way to resolve it, unfortunately, was ugly.
Yeah, good point. Bill, what's your thoughts? Do you think that the gun control community wants civil war? That's the reason that they're doing this.
Man, it's just like Paul was saying. Let me see. Was it Nelson or Joseph? I can't. Let me see. I can't. I'm having a blonde moment. I'm in my chemo treatment, Ryan. So give me a minute.
That's
It's
okay.
a Biden
Uh,
moment.
yeah, that's a Biden moment. What was that? No, I just think that, like Nelson was saying, they're going to push us to the brink, and it's like you were saying earlier, we're going to snap, and it's really going to cause this country to even be more divided. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Shooter's World today, and you should see the people walking in there. And I'm not talking buying 3, 4 boxes of ammo. I'm talking walking out of there spending $6, $7, $8, $900 worth of ammo,
So they
and
bought like
they're all
four. So they
That's
bought
yeah.
like
like.
5 boxes.
That's what I was trying to
Well,
say.
but I mean, like they had a sale $18.99 a box on 9 millimeters, and it was unlimited. And this guy walks in and drops $1,000 like it's nothing, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? And he's like, dude, you got to be prepared for the moment. You don't know when these idiots are coming for these guns, and I'm going down with a fight, and I'm just like, man, what's this country going to? I'm 56 years old. I would have never, in a million years, would have thought this country is so divided with hatred.
Yeah.
And you know where I think it's gonna start? It's gonna start in one of the rallies with BLM or Antifa. They're gonna push it, and people are gonna really just start, and somebody's gonna come with a rifle and just mow them
Li-
down.
Listen, I live 15 minutes from the Villages, which is the largest community, covers 3 counties: Marion, Lake, and Sumter. You guys should have seen it when I'm going to work in the morning. The fighting between senior citizens. You got the Trump people on one side and the Biden people on the other, and they had to call the cops in, man. And I told my boss today, I said, you know what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. You're going to have a senior citizen that was in the military and been diagnosed with PTSD in a Times Square, and one of these Democrats is going to piss him off, and he's going to go home, and he's going to get a weapon, and you're going to hear it, and it may not be today, and it may be tomorrow, but there's going to be a massive shooting in that square because, man, they are just ruthless people in the Villages.
But you see, go
But
ahead,
go
Bill.
ahead. No, it's just crazy on how these senior citizens act, especially the Democrats. You know, and the more I work out there, and it's not I don't have nothing against the New Yorkers, because I've got cousins that live in the Bronx, Long Island, Lindenhurst, Massapequa. But it's all those Democrats that are going to come down here, and they're going to try to turn this state blue. And I don't think it's going to happen because there's too many Republicans in Florida. But I'm telling you, there's going to be a massive shooting in the Villages with the way these people are just ruthless.
Yeah, I think I've said this multiple times, but I think that's the major problem that's happening right now is everybody believes that they're right, and that's okay, right? But we also have to understand with a positive growth kind of mindset that I don't know everything in the world. And it's okay to have somebody else share an opinion with me about whatever their belief is. And I can't just condemn them right away, even though I might not agree with it. We need to be able to debate stuff. We need to be able to talk logically. Like, listen, if your real objective is, how do we stop gun violence? Let's have a real conversation about what's causing gun violence and what are the trends and how do we really stop it? But unfortunately, what keeps happening is it's just this blanket statement of we need to ban all guns. Okay, so we banned heroin. It didn't stop people from doing heroin. We banned do you guys know that I was on the human trafficking website the other day pulling some statistics. Do you guys know the human trafficking website? I don't remember what it was. They estimate there are more people held in slavery today, 2021, across the world than people were slaves in the 1800s when slavery was legal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yeah, I
that's
believe
crazy.
So clearly, these policies and rules aren't freaking working. Criminals are still doing illegal shit.
I'll give you an example. I got a friend of mine that lives in Australia. Well, Australia banned all their guns.
Yep.
So I was talking to him the other day because he bought a truck mount. I'm in the carpet cleaning business, and he had a problem with the machine, and I helped him out. And we were talking. And I said, since the government in Australia, quote unquote, got rid of guns over there, I said, has it changed? He said, listen. He said, I got to arm myself with a machete. He said, the crime has tripled in Australia.
Wow.
And he said, there is no guns allowed at all in Australia. And he said, the murder rate is just skyrocketing every day.
Wow.
They don't want to talk about the real reason in crime. It's like the unspoken subject. Blame the guns. It's easier than blaming the people that's doing it. We all know who's doing the crime. Turn the TV on, and you see how the crime stops. So instead of going to the neighborhoods, I'm back from New York, but when Giuliani was in there, you know what? He said, hell with this. He put 4 or 5 cops on every corner. He stopped everybody, frisked them, busted all the little gangsters.
Yeah.
Anything. Put them in jail, kept doing that, and it cleaned it up.
Dude, it's, to talk about this on a smaller level, if I let my kids just run wild and do whatever they want, then they just continue to run wild. But when I tell them that is unacceptable, if you do that again, you're getting spanked, all of a sudden their behavior changes and it goes down that path of, this is the line that dad put in the sand. And if we cross that line, dad's going to get very upset. And I think that's what's happening now. Like, we see this massive spike of violence in New York, while at the same time, New York is, and Jason, I invited you to the stage, bud. There's a button or something. You should see it. Just click on it and come up to the stage so you can share your thoughts here. There's this massive increase in violence because of bail reform. I saw one guy, so he was arrested 26 times for doing violent, bad things, and the guy would get out of jail, rob another person. Get out of jail, rob a business. And it's like, why are we letting this dude out of jail? They say they want to fix the problem, but they don't want to fix the problem.
Because they won't be able to. And if you put people like you, Colion Noir, and some of the people that actually know what they're talking about, if you get the USCCA, all these people. So I'm sure some of you, or most of you, if not all of you, are members of the USCCA. So they have something called, they have 3 levels to their, to some qualification that you have there. And the level 3 is all about Protectors Academy. So on level 3, remember, Martin went through the entire research and the entire history of every mass shooting since Columbine. There were 41 or 42 of them. And except, I believe, the Vegas shooting, none of the arguments about magazine capacity, rapid fire, and any of that stands the test of time, right? They're all wrong because they weren't shot rapidly. Most of the magazines were loaded with 10 rounds or less, even though they could take more.
Yeah.
So none of that works. And he said himself, if they really wanted to curb gun violence, the research strictly suggests that none of their proposals would work, and they need to have a conversation with the people who know what they're talking about. They don't want to have that conversation because they will lose that conversation. And that means it'll backfire on what they're trying to do, which is obviously not curb gun violence, but in essence, increase it so they can keep harping on it. The more it happens, the more they can brainwash those who believe them that it is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then we won't get it back. If they get their way, we will not get it back. We will be another Australia. And fortunately, the only thing we have to buy us time is the fact that the Second Amendment is in the Bill of Rights, which means it cannot be taken away, but it's not stopping them from diluting it.
Yeah, I want to read you guys 2 statements here real quick. So first is a statement from Dan Kelly, who's on the live chat. He says, we have to win the hearts and minds of the Americans that are being scared into believing that gun control is a solution. Mass media likes to scare and excite the masses into a narrative. What do you guys think about that? Steven, let's have you go first.
Yeah, I grew up in South Jersey and actually worked for the local NBC affiliate, and I totally know what producers do in order to skew a story to a specific narrative. They can take the most mundane detail, and just by changing the way that they just even emphasizing certain words, it's all about skewing a specific agenda to either hype things up that are completely blown out of proportion, such as things like we had that Ebola issue a couple of years ago, and that was blown up as if like everybody was going to get killed off by Ebola, and
Sure.
then it just kind of faded away. Or the murder hornets earlier this year, or last year rather.
I forgot about the murder hornets. I was thinking, what scare tactic did you guys use to name this freaking bug? Murder hornets.
Yeah. So the media totally wants to push. It literally has turned into propaganda. It's very hard to find actual, legitimate, non-biased journalism and information. So, they're completely pushing things into a direction to divide us even more into this whole gun control situation. They are getting these journalists to write things. There was some guy in like Vermont that just recently wrote. I heard Ben Shapiro repeating the article, but the guy like saying that he was surprised at how accurate he could destroy a target with and just rent a gun. Like he was completely surprised that he could go to a range and rent a gun. He's like, I didn't know I could do that.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, it's like, just a giant, anti-gun liberal saying, and he was afraid of the gun.
Sure.
He was afraid of the big loud noise of the gun. And I'm like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And they emphasize that in order to scare the rest of society that's just unknowledgeable. We've taken so much out of our culture, out of our schools themselves. We don't have shop class anymore. We don't have home economics anymore. We don't have, you don't have a whole lot of kids on farms that are going out there, having to kill the chicken in order to put it on the table at night. I think if, we don't have 4-H and things like that as prevalent in our schools, where if our children were exposed to having to kill an animal in order to provide sustenance for yourself, maybe they would respect life more, and they would understand not only the power of a firearm, but of any tool in that aspect. So, because sometimes you don't have a firearm and you have to trap and you have to, or fishing or however you do it, to provide sustenance for yourself. So, we're scaring ourselves away to be, as we've referred to it numerous times, sheep. Mm-hmm. We are going to be a society of sheep because we are so scared of all of these things, because we've been told to be scared of all of these things. When if we experience it for ourselves, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, I think like what I really get from what you're saying, Steven, I think it's a very powerful statement. It's when people have the ability to be self-reliant, I'm not really concerned what's happening in the rest of the world, because I know that I possess the skills to adapt, to change, and to keep providing for my family in whatever case that is, right? But I think one of the strategies of what the controlling government wants is to keep people dumb, broke, and afraid. And the way to keep them afraid is you can't defend yourself. Only we can do it, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I saw there, again, memes that I came across was getting rid of firearms because we have police officers is the same equivalent of getting rid of fire extinguishers because fire departments exist. How quickly can a house go up in flames, and you can't you can't put it out with a fire extinguisher? And what's the response time of the average fire department? Again, I'm a medic. You're looking at 3 minutes in the in the best case scenario, up to, sometimes 10 minutes
Sure.
or more, depending on where where the engine company is, or where the tower is or whatnot. So same thing, if you live out further in the county and you got a domestic issue, and nobody has a firearm, but one person's chasing the other with a knife or an axe or a baseball bat, and what the closest sheriff's office, or if that's who's taking care of that particular area, maybe 20 minutes away, just because the size of a county.
Dude,
So
we had, when I owned the gun store, it was down in South Tampa, right by MacDill Air Force Base. One of my customers he parked his car, he was walking into our gun store, and another vehicle drove really fast by him and like almost hit him. It was just very aggressive. So my customer was like, what the hell, dude? And the car slammed on the brakes. The guy pulled out a gun, pointed at him, and said, I'll effing kill you. How long do you think it took TPD to respond to that?
Probably
Too long.
minutes.
It was 45 minutes.
Ouch.
And I thought, if somebody had been shot, what the hell are you guys going to do? They are there to write a report. They are not there to stop or prevent anything.
Yeah. 45 minutes that's crazy.
And what the officer told me is, he said, if you take South Tampa, so South Tampa is everything from Gandy, or from the Bay, right? Harbor Island up to Kennedy, all the way down, that there's only 2 police officers that patrol that entire area. So he said, when I got this call, I was on Harbor Island, and it took me this 45 minutes to get from Harbor Island down into South Tampa. Insane.
Yeah. That's again, now that moves to the defunding of the police portion of it, where if we don't have enough police officers that are getting paid in order to, to cover the area, you are working with a debilitated force. Like I said, I grew up in South Jersey, so I was right in the area of Atlantic City. In the city, we had, on average, in the overnight hours, about 8 police officers, eight actual patrol vehicles, and then that was it. So we had a very light force, and then you had reserve officers, and then you had administrative, actual officers, lieutenants and sergeants and such, that were often at stations rather than being out on the street. So, and Atlantic City is not that big comparatively to Tampa. I mean, we're talking maybe 3/4 of a mile by 3 miles or so. So it's a very small area, and response times were, especially in the inlet, which is the most dangerous area, was upwards of 8 to 10 minutes on really busy nights.
Wow.
So, and that was what they considered fully staffed. They thought 8 officers was more than enough, because it's typically quiet, but it's not a big metropolis like Tampa. So, yeah, I can't imagine how things would be if we continue to take away our police officers and then continue to take away the citizens' right to defend their lives, by taking away their firearms, their capability. So it can just turn into a giant free-for-all. I guess look at the recent riots in South Africa. There was the one community, of farmers grabbed a couple of rifles and some shotguns, and they formed a line on the street. And when the mass was coming at them, they just started firing, and they pushed back the mass. I don't know what ended up happening to that situation legally. I don't know if anybody's going to face any charges, if anybody's going to get arrested. But they stopped a mass from destroying an area. And it was just borderline vigilanteism, I believe. But is that something that we may end up facing, is the question.
Yeah, I was trying to remember this quote on Monday night, and I couldn't find it. So I'm going to read this to you guys real quick. This is from my book, and it's from Jeff Cooper. He says, "The rifle itself has no moral statute, since it has no will of its own. Naturally, it may be used by evil men for evil purposes, but there are more good men than evil. And while the latter cannot be persuaded to the path of righteousness by propaganda, they can certainly be corrected by good men with rifles.
Pretty cool.
I think that goes right to what Stephen was just saying. You know, you got a bunch of people that are trying to attack you. Kind words don't stop violent, evil people. But when you start cranking rounds at them, it tends to change behavior pretty rapidly.
There's one thing. Well, there's a couple of things on my mind that's been the anti-gun, Democratic, liberal, whatever. This is a long-term thing for them. This has been teaching the kids in school how guns are bad, dangerous. It's going, don't touch guns. I mean, when was the last time you ever really seen a commercial for any guns, for hunting, for anything? Took it away from sports.
Yep.
It's gone. They make it such an evil thing, and they grow up, and this is the way you think. Oh, it's evil. It's gone. It's dangerous. Another thing, you notice we can't get, well, where I'm at anyway, we can't open up a range or anything. There is a lack of training and places to go to train. So people come here, they'll buy a gun. Oh yeah, I'll be good, and that's it. Shoot it 2 or 3 times. They put their guns away until they really need it, and you have a lot of accidents, so they just don't know, or purple, whatever, will just take it away from them. And we need to bring that back. We need to bring, kids into it and show them that this is not evil. It could be used for good.
Yeah, it's kind of like a knife, right? A knife can be used in an evil way. It can also be one of the most important tools you can carry on your body for just day-to-day activities, right? It's not the item that determines whether it's good or bad. It's the person behind it. It's kind of like money, right? Money can be a very good, positive thing. It can also be a terrible thing, but it's the person behind it that determines what the object becomes. So I'd like to welcome Jose and Michelle. If you guys have any comments, please feel free to jump in.
Hey guys, I do have to say one thing, and I do agree with everything that you guys have spoken about. Actually, I'm going to be traveling within 2 weeks up to Georgia to a wedding.
Okay.
And I did a little research on the state, regarding my ability to carry my concealed gun up into the state of Georgia. And one of the things that stuck out was that they actually, I don't know if it's if they have a county or a town or a city, that the mayor or whoever is the leader actually said that every household should have a weapon. I mean, I think, first of all, like I tell everybody that it's that I always try to advise, hey, it's your right, it's your Second Amendment right. Practice it, cherish it, learn about it. And the first thing that they say is, oh, I'm just uncomfortable, or I don't like him, I just get nervous. I said, listen, it's just like the first time that you grab one of these smartphones. You didn't even know what to do.
Sure.
Okay, yet you learned to the point that you don't even drop it anymore. You know how to deal with it. So once you have a gun and you start to train and you start to educate yourself, what I always tell people is this: your whole demeanor changes.
How so?
Because now you know that you have power to take someone's life or take your own life. Because you know what? If you use it wrongly, you can kill someone, but if you use it wrongly, you can go to jail forever. I said, so you're taking two. I said, you really have to think about it. And I says, and that changes. It matures you to say, hey, this is a tool. And just like a machete, because I'm from Puerto Rico. And when I was a kid, I saw a few machete fights. Okay? And trust me, I think watching a gunfight is better.
That is so true. I carry all over, and I carry all the time, but it has changed me with people, especially when people cut you off and they start yelling at you anyway. And you know what? I just say, hey, fine, it's my fault, no problem. Sorry about that. And I don't care, because I know I have the upper hand no matter what. And
this is one thing. Because I just want, I don't know if you guys have used this, and I say this a lot, okay? I say your best defense are your legs. That's your best defense. If you have a
Sure.
confrontation with someone, your best defense are your leg. Why? Because you could always run away. So
My
you could always run away.
running days are kind of over. Put it that way.
But still, you could avoid it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because if they come after you, then guess what? Now they push the buttons. Okay. And one of the things that I like to tell people is this: hey, man, if you're somewhere and someone looks at you and say, hey, what are you looking at? Hey, compliment them on their shirt, on their pants. Say, hey, man, I like that shirt. Someone asks you, hey, how's your day going? Or hey, man, what's your problem? Just say, hey, man, you know what? My dad died. I'm going through hell. I lost my job. And you divert it. Why? Because you can control it. Why? Because at the end, you don't know if they're carrying. And this is what I tell people. You're in Florida, man. 50-50 chances that whoever is in that car in front of you is carrying just the same way that you are.
Somebody has a gun. Yeah.
Exactly. I always say that. And at the end, it comes to us because you know what? I love the police department. I love anything that has to do with law because we're law-abiding citizens, but you can't depend on them because let's be real. Okay, in larger metropolitan areas, when the police hear a call about shootings, trust me, they're not that anxious to get there that fast. Let's be real. You know what I mean?
True.
Okay. What do you have to say to that, Michelle? Michelle, you there? Going once.
I'm here. Sorry. I'm in my car. I'm at the chiropractor waiting for my husband to get out. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
And I'm
problem.
trying to order food. I'm trying to order food at the same time. It's called multitasking. Yeah, about I know when I got my gun that it makes you think twice when you're carrying it about how you're going to react to a situation.
Sure.
You have to you have to control your anger. You have to control your actions. You cannot control the other person's actions, but you can still take responsibility for your own. And it matures you a lot because it makes you think, okay, if I do this, this is going to be the consequences. However, I did find out there are people out there that when they hear or see if you're printing or something, they kind of look at you like you're a nutcase.
Sure.
Like you're mentally ill. And of course, you're probably the sanest person on earth because you are carrying, but they don't know that. And the perception of guns in today's society is absolutely insane. And it's all being done by people who are, I hate to use the word ignorant, but they're uneducated as to the facts. Like the police officer saying about the 6-hour 320 that it shot it by itself while he was putting it in his holster.
Did he say putting it in the holster? Did he say while he was putting it in the holster, or did he say he just touched the gun while it was in the holster?
I think that was a little sketchy.
Okay.
First, one of them said that it got dropped and the gun went off. The second one, the one from Tampa, the retired one, said he got shot while he supposedly said it was in his holster. But from what I understand, another story he's told is that he was putting it in his holster. And
Sure.
I think his finger was on the trigger.
So not just that, like when I saw that article a couple days ago, a TPD officer gets shot in the leg, I thought, and the article said that he just brushed his holster. He just touched it and the gun just went off. So I said to Tiffany, I said, this is not, it doesn't even make sense because if the gun's in an outside the waistband holster, unless you got like a ridiculously wide spread legs, the gun is not pointed at your leg. So it's just, the shot will go in the ground. It's not going to go in your leg. So I think, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. No, you're absolutely right. And every St. Pete PD officer I've talked to, they said it's virtually impossible unless he was reholstering his gun and he missed his holster and it went right into his leg and he had his finger on the trigger. Now, supposedly 6 Hour had a recall for the P320 that if that's the case, he shouldn't be suing 6 Hour. He needs to be suing Tampa PD for not taking those service weapons out and having the recall done on them.
Sure. Katura, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Great to hear your voice finally.
Thank you. Yours too. Fun to talk to you on this. This is really cool.
It's a neat app, isn't it?
It really is. Like when Chip popped the link in the live chat, I was like, I'm gonna go hop over there. I'll
Yeah.
put TV on for my child, and he can leave me alone, and I can, listen in on the conversation.
Cool. So tell me, what is your kind of thought on the topic today?
Well, we started the YouTube a little bit late.
Okay.
But my husband had come home from work and had told me what had happened in Chicago. I was actually really proud of the Chicago Police Department when Mayor Lightfoot showed up. They all turned their back on her.
Awesome.
30 to 40 police officers didn't even say hello, didn't salute her. They just turned their backs on her. And I thought, you know what? Well done.
Yeah.
That's kind of what needs to happen is for people. There was nothing, wasn't violent. Nobody screamed, just a show of disrespect.
Yeah.
And really appreciated it. But yeah, I've just been enjoying the conversation. I'm still getting ready. I just started doing the the dry fire course.
Yeah, awesome.
And I used to shoot Blue Rock, so I'm more comfortable with the shotgun, even though it's been several years. So pistol is new for me.
Okay.
And I really appreciate everybody like chiming in and saying, how much it does help you control your anger. You're not going to go around brandishing this gun like, the Wild West to get people's attention if you really, actually care about what you're doing. So it was a really good point. There's been some really good points. I've just been kind of more absorbing. I don't really have any great insights or anything.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just posted a video on YouTube, or maybe it's going to post in a couple days, but it was an incident where a guy at a gas station just pulled out a gun and he's screaming and yelling at people. And they're like, we're going to call the cops. And he's like, I want you to call the cops. No, you don't. You're the one going to jail, dude. So I got a message on Instagram from somebody that took my concealed carry class a couple years ago.
Okay.
And he said, Ryan, I need your help. I'm in a lot of trouble. And I said, okay, what happened? He said, I was in a road rage incident. This person is claiming that I brandished a gun, but he said I never brandished the gun. And now he got arrested. His trial is starting next week. And he's like, I might go to jail for this because I have no evidence. It's that person's word against mine that I actually brandished a gun. And I think that's a bad place to be, because he might get, if he's telling me the truth and he never showed anybody a gun, he might go to jail right now because somebody else is lying. I think it's terrifying.
I carry a dash cam, and I carry that the body cam also. And
you wear a body cam?
Just for that.
You wear a body cam? That's awesome.
Yeah, you were there. I had it on when you were.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's people lie.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's also a good point that Nelson is making, because that is the society that the anti-gunners are encouraging. Mm-hmm. Putting out those ideas that we should get psychological evaluations and get insurance and tell the neighbors, or even speak to your ex-wife from who knows how long ago to determine your state of mind, whether you should own a gun or not. Ryan, you always say that we are fighting an information war. And I think that the information that we put out there ourselves, not just in terms of what we do on our conservative channels, but in just our posts, the way that we comment on conversations like this. I have to say, you and I had this discussion before, Ryan, is some of the things that people are saying online, if someone is new to the community, they're saying, they may think, what am I getting myself into? What kind of people am I associating with that are putting out messages or comments of this bravado that are not the likelihood of them actually acting that way in the event that they are in that situation, in terms of rather be carried by rather be judged by 12 or carried by 6. And I can understand if you've been continuously in inner city and involved in these type of situations and you've fought battles, but I will never say something like that for the simple reason is that I first of all never want to get into one. I'm carrying a firearm to protect myself, my loved ones, and people around me. It has made me a much calmer person because if there is anything that I understand more than ever now is that with freedom comes responsibility.
Yes.
We have a responsibility not only to behave a certain way, which Jose made it very, very succinct and gave great examples, but we have to take the responsibility even on the way that we speak so that people don't feel intimidated, so that people don't feel that we are all out to just shoot our guns. We are so trigger happy. We love to. Yes, we want to train. We want to practice. We want to be proficient so that we are safer with our firearms, not because we are trigger happy. So I think that that is where you are correct in saying we're in an information war. We need to be conscious of the information we're putting out there as members of the two-way community.
I couldn't agree more, Joe. And you know, Joe's the moderator on the live streams most of the time. I got a live stream going right now, and there's all kinds of crazy comments, dude. You know, because you usually delete these people. But, you know, it's just interesting to watch what these people are saying and doing because you're right. Many people have mentioned it on here. We are fighting an information war. We are trying to win the hearts and the minds of not the people that already believe guns are good. We're not trying to change the opinions of people that think that guns are bad. We're trying to change the opinions of people in the middle that really haven't made a decision yet. We're looking for like the single mother who's afraid of trying to buckle her baby into the car seat or afraid of a potential rape or something like that. We don't want them to come into this community and be like, man, these people are really aggressive. They're really mean. They're really rude. Like, that's just not what we want. We want them to feel loved. We want them to feel like, you know, it's funny when I go to the range with students, I had this woman, I think it was Saturday, she shot and then she started crying and she was very upset. So I was rubbing her back. I try not to touch women, just so you guys know, like even when people want selfies and stuff, I don't touch them. But in situations like this, I try to think, if this was my daughter, how would I respond right now? So I was rubbing her back and I said, you know, it's going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you, whatever. That's what people need, right? They need to know that we are here to support you. We are not. And she's like, you know, I feel bad or whatever. You shouldn't feel bad. Everybody else in the class can wait. We need to focus on you and make sure that you feel safe.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of what we call keyboard warriors out there. They get behind the keyboard. They let everything fly. They don't think there's going to be any consequences. But in the real world, I guarantee you they're not that way. And then on top of that, that's one of the reasons I had a bad experience in the Florida Carry group. And, you know, just asking a question and, man, it was towards the women, and then all the men chimed in. And I remember texting Tiffany or messaging her and going, "Can we have a women's group, please?" Because you know, having men answer questions that are based for women, we're two different. Yes, we're all human beings, but we're two different, you know, species here. We have different needs than the men do. We can't all carry appendix all the time, and so. You know, a lot of the, unfortunately, I hate to say, but a lot of the keyboard warriors are going, "Oh, no, you can't have a concealed carry purse. You're not supposed to carry that way." Well, what if that's your only option? I would rather be concealing in a purse and have my gun on me and know I can easily access it than not have one on me at all.
I have to be honest, as someone who's new to carrying, and I haven't actually physically started carrying yet, I have a small child, and there's certain times I don't want to just wear like a pair of jeans and a big t-shirt. You know, why shouldn't I be able to carry a purse and have a gun in there and save the life of me and my child? I mean, I live in Colorado near Denver area. There's been a lot of shootings and violence, and it's only ramping up. We're about an hour and a half away from Boulder, or maybe an hour, and after that King Super shooting, it really really got my attention, because that could be anywhere in any grocery store. They had a shooting just a couple of weeks ago in a Walmart about half an hour from us. Our neighbor who was in downtown Denver working had the radiator of her car shot out in the crossfire. It's not like I want to go around being paranoid, but yeah, why can't we? If that's the way you're
You
going to carry, why
you
not?
have to be observant. Hey, Qatar, are you in the women's group?
I just joined Monday night. Yep.
Well, welcome aboard. It's a great group, and we are understanding. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Mary is the admin there, and she is on top of everything. I love her to death. And Tiffany chimes in with some great safety tips. So, welcome aboard to the women's group. We are very supportive of each other.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. When we get women in the store, uh, actually, even when I was teaching classes, first of all, I don't let the husbands come in and take the class, because right away they grab their guns, they start yelling at them and tell them this is wrong, doing that. And the women who don't wear pants, they only wear dress, I tell them either a belly band or something. If they have to use a purse, prepare the purse. They have to get a holster that stands the gun up and have it velcroed in there or something, so at least the holster will hold the gun straight up and down. Carrying the purse with a sling over across from you, and don't get a real cheap uh, purse that you could pull it away, and because they're gonna snatch it off you. At least it's over your shirt. You could over your crossbody. You can still put
Yeah,
your hand in the purse and grab your gun.
I
And
actually have, Nelson, you're absolutely right. I actually have a crossbody leather concealed carry purse that has a special pocket in the back. It's double zipper that locks. So if I need to lock it, I can. But it has some Velcro on the inside, and I've actually taken my crossbreed modular holsters for my guns that are Kydex that have the
yeah,
Velcro on the back, and they Velcro right inside that pocket, and it's always within reach. I can easily grab. I actually draw better from my concealed carry than I do on my body.
cool, good. Yeah, and the thing is, practice. You gotta practice. Yeah, I mean, I shoot all the time, and you really do gotta practice. It makes a big difference, and and prepare for anything. I mean, here sometimes we get ATF call. They have a known dang gangs breaking into, or they're gonna rob a gun store, and they call all the gun stores in the area. I come in, I bring my AR, and I got a body armor I wear, and I go to the whole store like that all day long.
Good for you. I was nearly abducted a few years ago.
Oh my
It was small.
gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I had a guy, I went to our corner liquor store. My husband and I weren't married, we were dating then, and just to get a bottle of wine to cook with.
And what
My
time of day was
phone,
this?
afternoon,
Okay.
broad daylight, between 2 and 3 p.m. in the afternoon, maybe. And went, and it's so weird. As I walked into the liquor store, I just noticed and took this mental snapshot of this white pickup truck. So weird. The entire time I'm in the store, I was just taking these like mental snapshots, like this person's here, and it was really surreal. Got up to the counter, and the guy in front of me, I could tell he wanted to make eye contact with me, and I was like, nope. Didn't look at him. Paid for my purchase and walked out. Noticed he's still sitting in his pickup truck. That's really weird. Go to cross the highway because it's a busy highway, and he pulled up beside me and proceeded to cross the highway in front of me and drive about 5 miles per hour. So he didn't actually get out of the car, but he was following me. And all of a sudden, I panicked. I went, oh my gosh, he's going to grab me, or he's going to follow me home and try to get me. So I happened to be close enough that I ducked behind a huge thing of bushes. And he had just gotten far enough that he lost sight of me, turned into the Ace Hardware parking lot, and started waiting and looking for me from his truck.
Wow.
I was sitting there. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I was like, if I go across the parking lot to go get help, he could grab me. It's far enough back. I can't walk and cross the highway. So I ended up cutting through the condo subdivision that I lived in and got home, picked up my phone, called the police, of course. Well, we'll send a patrol car over there. It's like, no, I don't want somebody announcing where I live. Like, they didn't end up doing anything, I don't think. It was a really surreal experience, and it taught me, like, you just don't know when things are going to happen. Everybody thinks you're going to get nabbed, raped, whatever, in a seedy part of the town after dark. And it's like, it can happen. In fact, a lot of times lately, the reports I'm hearing is, it's gangs of guys grabbing middle-aged women outside of grocery stores in broad daylight, you know.
You have to
So,
you have to remember this old rule: when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And I always look people in the eye. I don't care. I memorize their face. If I don't hear a voice or whatever, I found that people who are going to do something to you, they don't like eye contact because
yep.
you have now recognized them, and that will deter. That's the biggest deterrent for anything.
I think the most
Um,
alarming thing to me is I didn't make eye contact with him in the store, but I did when he started basically shadowing me in his car.
And
And I
being creepy.
glared.
Yeah.
I totally glared at him. I literally gave him the WTF face, like, what are you doing? And he
that's why
still. So it
a
was just
good
like,
dash cam.
oh, I wish I had dash cam. I wish I had body cam. I wish I'd had my cell phone. I wish so many.
Yeah.
So it's just
I I have
it was a
I have a
stark
really good
reminder.
I have a really good dash cam that does cabin, front, and rear. Matter of fact, if you look through the post on the women's, I actually post, the type of dash cam. But I'm on there as Shell Bell.
Oh,
So please
okay.
feel free, if you're interested in the dash cam, you can get on Amazon, private message me, and I'll send you the link for it along with, what you need. It's an awesome dash cam, and it records. I mean, it records everything. And if you get the GPS with it, it'll actually record your speed. So get you out of a speeding ticket.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the
I
things that
charge.
You
one of the
must
things that I
walk
would like
very
to
fast,
advise
Michelle, if you're going to get a speeding ticket.
one of the things that I like to advise is do what I do. When I'm with my wife and I step out, I always tell her lock the doors. But when I come back, I don't take the same way that I left. I go around, hide between the cars, and I startle her. And I said, "You see how easy it is?" I said, "You can be on your phone, and if you're not paying attention to your surrounding, next thing you know, someone could open the door if it's unlocked, or someone can just break it. You know what I mean? And do harm because you got bad people everywhere." And I do
Ah,
advise this. I do advise this to a lot of people that move from out of state because and the type of work that I do, I get to meet a lot of people that move to the state, particular women. And I always say, it don't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how old you are. If they can kidnap you and put you in a room, they'll hook you up on drugs, and then they'll make money out of your body. And then guess what they do? They cut you up. They throw you in the Everglades. They never find you. So you have to be always on the lookout. You go outside, four eyes everywhere. It doesn't matter. You always got to be on the lookout. You just can't trust anymore because Florida is a big state. It's a big state, and sometimes that's what happens. Yeah, I live in South. South. I live in Cape Coral, and here we have a Cape Coral Police Department, and we have the Lee County Sheriff, and we got the state police. But it says you got other areas like Lehigh Acres. They depend on the Lee County Sheriff, and I'm going to tell you something. It's going to take more than an hour, okay? And you're
Yeah,
not
we
going to get
used
neighbors out there that are going to stick out for you because unfortunately we don't have those. It takes a village to raise a child anymore.
No, we lived in South Florida for a little over a year, and mostly the Keys, but we were out back and forth between there and Miami, and I would agree with you. That is very true. Florida felt a little scary to me after growing up in the Midwest and living in Colorado, because it's a huge state, and there's a lot of people, and people told me a lot of horror stories.
And I do have to say one thing for my wife. We actually went to do some target practicing on Saturday, and she comes to me. She says, "I'm scared. I'm afraid." I say, "Don't worry about that." I says, "That's perfectly normal." It says everybody in this range here, man, women, child, goes through the same process because that's your inner brain telling you either to run or to fight. And I'm going to tell you something. And what does that is the sounds, the loud sound, not the gun that you're grabbing. It's the sound. We're not creatures of those types of louder sounds. And I say, and that's perfectly normal because, hey, sometimes if I'm shooting, if I'm just out there at the range shooting and somebody takes the next spot and shoots a 44 and I'm not aware of it, guess what? You get that little anxious, like, hey, what was that? So I always say, no matter if you're a man, if you're a woman, you feel the same emotions that we men try to be a little bit show off and say, oh, yeah, we're not scared. But no, it's still there. It lingers around.
That was the first time, Jose?
Actually, for her, it's been a few times. She likes the rifles better. She likes the AR better. But she
Very
was
cool,
actually,
man.
yeah. But the funny thing is, I just purchased a brand new 45. It's a Glock G21 Gen 4, and she shot a 22 handgun. She shot her 380. She shot 2 9mm, and she even shot the I have a CAA, I think it is, MCK, one of those micro conversion kits on a Glock 9mm, and she kind of liked it. But the best one she shot, better than me, was the 45. And she said, "This one doesn't go up." I said, "Yeah."
Okay,
I said, they're slow, they're fat, but they get the job done.
Sounds like she's enjoying it now.
Ryan, I
So
have
that
some
was
questions
good.
for you.
Yeah, I want to hear from Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
All right, Annie No reported a while back. Well, I think it was like a couple days ago. I always get that crossed. But anyway, breaking from No, it says dozens of armed Antifa surrounded a family Christian prayer event in Portland on Saturday afternoon and assaulted the attendees.
No way.
And they threw
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it sprayed mace and tore apart the sound equipment. I was talking to a friend of mine that owns a 9mm. I happen to own a 22 LR Ruger SR22. It's for training purposes. I have literally like 3,000 rounds already, so I'm ready for like all the gun training and all that stuff. But in an instance like that, would carrying and brandishing your weapon at multi-point aim to get them out of there be the right move?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're gonna talk about, of course, Florida law, because I don't know what the Oregon law is on this topic. So we're gonna relate all this to Florida. Brandishing is illegal, but brandishing a firearm, which is called improper exhibition of a dangerous weapon, is a misdemeanor. So that crime is very low. Now, you could get a year in prison. You could lose your right to have a gun. So there is a risk there, right? But it's a much lower risk than actually pulling out your gun and actually shooting that person. So let me tell the story of Michael Draka. You guys all remember the Michael Draka shooting. So Brittany Jacobs was a young woman. She pulled into a convenience store, pulled her car into a handicapped parking spot. Her boyfriend, Marquise, walked into the convenience store. And Michael Draka was just an older dude who, I shouldn't say older, he was like 48 or something, just had an attitude, no life, and he decided he was going to go harass Brittany for parking in this spot, which she shouldn't have done. Marquise comes out, sees Draka talking to his girlfriend, and he shoves Draka onto the ground. Now, Michael Draka had a decision. He could have laid on the ground and got his ass kicked, okay? He could have gotten up and he could have just walked away, said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, we're done, and he could just leave. The third option is he could pull out a gun and just point it at Marquise. Now, if you guys watch my video on YouTube or just Google Michael Draka shooting, you can watch the surveillance footage. As soon as Marquise saw the gun, he realized, I'm done, right? Like, I'm not going to keep fighting you when somebody's pointing a gun at me. And Marquise was backing up. So the fourth option is what Draka decided to do, which was to ultimately pull the trigger. Now, by pulling the trigger and killing Marquise, he got 20 years in prison, which he deserves. If he would have just pulled the gun out and pointed at Marquise, I believe that would have ended that violent attack, and it would have kept Michael Draka safe. It would have kept Brittany and Marquise safe. Everybody could have moved on with their lives. Even if Draka got in trouble, Jason, it's a very low bar. Again, it's a year. which sucks, but it's better than 20 years. Now, would that work when you have a gang of Antifa? Probably not. What do you think?
This is what I'm saying. If anything happens, it's going to be because of Antifa. If, I mean, really, somebody there would have been crazy and just shot all the Antifa members there because of it. I mean, is it justified? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, all this is really it's like it's brainwash against the Second Amendment and creating this pathologically altruistic, soft bigotry of low expectations and these armies of compassion that take the internet or the Democrat Party to come down on gun owners, and it's total scapegoating of the actual issues. The actual problem is behavior and felons with a gun. I mean, the case with the 76 shootings that the gun crime increases in Chicago is a perfect example. And since 1933, we're walking on close to almost a century of Democrat leadership in Chicago, entirely scapegoating the issue. And it's gotten to this point where it's gotten into the influence has gotten to institutions, and now we have influencers online trying to expand and trying to publicly shame people. All it's really doing is fomenting bad behavior, more bad behavior, and more a lot of all it's doing is creating an avenue for more bad behavior. And it really just, I mean, I'm kind of afraid of what these rhinos are going to do in Congress. Are they going to turn their backs on law-abiding gun owners and vote on this bill? I mean, or like they did with the infrastructure bill, or are they going to, they're not helping the situation. I know that. But that's thank you for that explanation, Ryan.
Sure, my pleasure. Dan, are you there? Or Michelle, anybody have any comments?
Antifa sucks. That's a comment.
Yeah, they're all mouthless.
I think that what Jason just said, by the way, just very good commentary. So thank you for that. I do believe that there's got to be, and I'm hoping to an extent that's what it is, some give and take between the Senate and looking at what lesser evils are, where they'll give, if the infrastructure bill, which I'm not condoning in any way, shape, or form in terms of the fine print in the Second Amendment, but if there is not enough in there to put a significant or harmful dent to the Second Amendment, when something like the bill on banning firearms with detachable magazines, which is unconstitutional, as we all know and we all believe and we will all argue, is now it comes to that we say, you know what? We have given you X. Now you're going across, you're crossing the line. No way we're going to be supporting this. And that is where I'd like to see the line in the sand be drawn and supported, is that when things are really becoming unconstitutional, enough's enough. We're not going to, there's no way, no one is going to do that. And hopefully the moderates and the Democratic Party will also, who are pro 2A, are also going to stand by and say, that's a line in the sand, we're not going to let you cross, enough's enough. And then the judiciary, hopefully, will come and say, again, this is unconstitutional. So I think that we do have to pay attention. We don't want to blow things out of proportion to the extent that we believe that it's all or nothing every single time. We just got to keep fighting. There's going to be some push. There's going to be some give and take that we're going to have to give. I'm okay with giving tiny little things, but really pushing against the big things, because the tiny little things we can at some point, hopefully with better leadership in the next election, we can fight and get those tiny little things back. But if we lose any of the big ones, like this one, banning semi-automatics with detachable magazines, like Ryan said before, we're not going to get that back. unless we get DeSantis back and he vetoes everything, right? DeSantis in the White House, and then we're going to have to keep him there not just for 4 years, 8 years, and make sure that that kind of succession continues. So that's how I see it. I say, okay, I'm looking at it as give and take, but I'd like to see the big resistance on the things that we know, all of us know, are unconstitutional.
Yeah, but you know what? That
Yeah.
give and take stuff is. It's look at what happened in California. They kept it's little by little, little by little. Okay, it's not, you can't have you got to have 10 rounds in your mag. You got to have 9 rounds. It's not. It's give and take, but the only thing they keep taking, and we just keep giving. I mean, it comes a point where you got to say no. I'm sorry, but that part is you just can't do it. I mean, when's enough? When do you actually say no?
Right now.
I agree with you, but I think in California, there was no resistance to it. That's the point.
People become complacent. Okay, we'll do it. Oh, okay. And this is all the same. It's just us right here that we speak about it, but a lot of the people, they don't. I get back in the shop. I have all kinds of people. We have people that they want to conquer the world. Nobody's going to take anything. And other
Okay, that is my fault. I accidentally muted you, Nelson. So unmute yourself and finish your statement.
No, sorry, I lost track. But basically, it just they just keep taking and taking. It's just I just can't see it. One thing leads to another, and that's the way. And this is the way. This is the way they operate. Little by little, chip away at that stone, and it's gonna crack. It's gonna crack, and people are just gonna give up. I for one, I really don't want to give up. And the people here don't understand how much people own in ammunition and guns. You really don't know. I mean, there are people here that can supply an army. It's really, really that big, and this is a lot of people. And I worked in a couple of gun stores already, so and this is from all the people around.
Let me jump in here real quick.
Remember also that in California.
Hold on a second, Jose.
Let's say you're in Nevada.
Okay, guys, so listen up real quick, just so everybody kind of understands how Clubhouse works, because as we get more and more people and as this gets more and more popular, we got to make sure that we are following the proper etiquette here. If you guys got something to say, just turn your unmute yourself and then mute yourself again so that I can see it flashing, and that way I can come to you, or it's going to get very difficult to be able to have a full kind of conversation. Dan, I want to hear from you. So you've been up here for a long time. I know you tried to talk a couple times. I want to hear what you have to say about the conversation.
Are we
today.
still on, or
Looks like we lost everybody.
Can you guys hear me?
I don't know what happened here.
Can you guys
we
hear
got
me?
a really bad storm here, so I thought maybe my Wi-Fi went out.
Nope. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure can.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can hear you.
Yes.
I want to hear from you, Dan. What do you have to say, buddy? Can you hear me, Dan?
All the
I guess not. Jose, what do you got to say, bud?
Oh, I don't know if everyone caught about that thing that I said about the bullets. If you have ammunition, and let's say you bought ammunition in Nevada, and you just happen to drive into California, that's a felony. That's illegal. And that's how they start, little by little. And like I said, at the end, we'll end up just defending ourselves with rocks until people start dying. Because in the reality of the fact is, more gun violence is committed with handguns, first of all, okay? There's nothing more deadlier than a shotgun, a semi-shotgun, okay, than an AR. Because like I've always said, hey, if you knew how difficult it is just to raise up, get aligned with an AR-15, okay, and you don't practice, okay, you just bought one because you want to kill, okay, guess what? I spoke to a veteran one time at the range, and he said, Jose, I'm a trained killer. I says, I don't need an AR. He says, and I don't need large capacity magazines. He says, as long as I got 5 or 6 magazines in my person, and those magazines could be 6-rounders, I says, I could take about 10 people easy in a blink of an eye with a handgun. So, but everything has been misconstrued by the media, okay, and by these wealthy liberal endorsements, because guess what? They don't need guns. They have security personnel. I mean, we've already seen it with Cori Bush. We've already seen it with AOC. They pay. I mean, if we could afford to have a security guard, an armed security guard, to walk our families around, hey, by all means, get rid of the guns then. But we can't afford that, and all I can afford is $600-700.
Yeah, I find
Okay.
it really funny. A female congresswoman got challenged by the media the other day, which is always a shocker, right? So they said, you've been calling for police departments across the country to be defunded, but you spent $70,000 hiring a private security firm to protect you. And she and isn't this like typical of these kind of people? Her response, Jason, was, do you want me to die? Do you want me to die then? Is that what you're saying? And it's like, lady, we want you to live just like I want to live. But I can't.
That was Cori Bush.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Cori Bush that did that.
The hypocrisy is real. If you guys ever find liberal hive mind on YouTube, he's great to watch. I have to find it, but I think he had mentioned about this too. This very case, and it was funny. Yeah, for sure, Ryan. That was funny. It's true.
But
they have this mentality: what's good for me is not good for thee, and that's just they live in their golden palaces up on the hill, and unfortunately, the rest of us, they forget that we the people are the ones that they're supposed to represent.
And also, they don't think that when the crime rates rise, if they do get their way, it's not only going to be conservatives that are going to be in harm's way. Everyone will be in harm's way, including the people that voted for them, including the people that voted for gun control. They're going to be in harm's way too. The criminals are not going to know, excuse me, did you vote for gun control? Okay, no problem. You're okay. I'll go next door. It's not going to happen like that. And then the same people that voted for gun control, the same people that have gone and bought guns during Corona because they realized that their previous judgment or opinion about firearms has changed, because now that is the only way for them to afford some type of safety. Those are the people that will wake up, but it'll be too late. When there's too little police, there are no guns, or there are too little guns. And those politicians are not thinking of that.
Well, I have to agree. Like, Alexander Solzhenitsyn has an amazing quote. It's not very well known, but it's in one of his Gulag books. And he said, we sat in prison and we only had ourselves to blame. I'm kind of paraphrasing. There were thousands upon thousands of us, and we could have held them off. There was only a few people coming to get us. We could have held them off with shovels, our axes, anything we had, and we could have won. And they would have been so scared they would have never come to our doors. But instead, he said, we deserved everything we got, and we sat in prison and we burned. And I just thought, man, I wish I could put that on t-shirts. Like, people need to read that because it's so true. There's more of us than them in general, but it's just this idea of, well, they've been ebbing away at us psychologically for so long, and we do keep giving away little bits. And then at one point, it's like, when it's too late,
That's why it says the pen is mightier than the sword.
I think that's why social media has gotten to be such a hotbed.
Back when the big marches were coming and protesting was from the BLM movement, it was record sales. I worked there. It was constant, nonstop. We had lines. There were so many liberals that would come onto the gun for protection. They didn't care what it was. They wanted it. But the thing that surprised, they didn't know that they have to do a background check. They kept saying, well, why do we have to do it? I'm good. That's the law. This is, well, they said it doesn't have. They didn't know that you really had to do a background check. and they, you know, fill it out and wait, and they had 3 day wait.
These guys are so new that they totally forgot the part that still exists is background checks. They still exist. These guys don't know that background checks even exist. They think that it's something brand new presented to the table,
Yeah, they
and
thought they
that's
could buy it
these
and just
institutions.
buy the
They don't
store.
do things. They distort it. It's
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
really good point.
It's
I had
it's
a
funny how I hear all the, oh, we need federal level, we need background checks, we need this, we need that. And I'm sitting going, Florida already does that. So what's,
Yeah.
it's getting ridiculous. Matter of fact, I bought my first gun when Mayor Comrade Kreisman in St. Pete decided, he came out saying he was going to defund the police. I said, oh, hell no. I'm getting my gun.
Oh. Oh.
Well, let's look at Chicago. Let's
No.
look at Chicago. I mean, all this gun violence, and guess what? They have one of the most strictest laws there is to get a handgun for a law-abiding citizen. So, wouldn't that tell you? Wouldn't that just wake you up and say, "Wait a second, our problem is not with law-abiding gun owners. Our problems are with criminals. Criminals don't follow laws. So, what are we doing
Absolutely.
here? We're doing something wrong." And you know what? I do have to say this because personally, okay, as an American, I feel that our president did threaten gun owners by saying we have F-15s and we have nukes. But I also want to remind that guy that the Russians had MiGs jet fighters and they also had nukes and they couldn't even take down Afghanistan. And
yeah,
all
but let's
Afghanistan had was AK-47s.
we are finishing a war in Afghanistan that's been lasting for a decade. We have fighter jets, we have drones,
Yeah.
we have more men than you can count, and they're old dudes running around in flip-flops, and they're kicking our
There you
ass. It's
go.
been 10
That's
years.
it. You know what? I do want to say something before I go because I want everyone to really think about this, okay? And this has been one of my arguments when I talk to people, especially about our Second Amendment, okay, our rights and what we're capable as a group, okay, or as a militia. And people that don't understand the National Guard is not a militia, okay? Militia are people, common men, Minutemen. That's the militia. You're out there in a minute. But there's one reason only why the United States soil has never gotten invaded. Not because of our armed forces, not because of our Army, our Marines, our Coast Guard, our Air Force, and our Navy. No. It's because of people like us. Because let me tell you something. We have the largest soldiers, okay, in one country than I think most of the world combined. Just remember that. Okay.
Well,
That's only if the Chinese doesn't sneeze on us and then we get wiped out by a sneeze.
Well, in World War II, they one of the generals for Japan was actually asked, "Why did you not attempt to invade mainland United States?" His words were kind of broken, but it's because they were afraid of people like us being behind every blade of grass, and they knew our guerrilla warfare would not be, would be too much for them to handle. So that's why really nobody has invaded the United States, is because of 2A people like us that are willing to protect our homestead.
Right on,
Yeah,
sister.
they invaded through information war like this, and I've brought this up a lot in social media. Is the way that the Russians invaded Afghanistan in 1940. What is it? Let's see, 19. Yeah, the Afghan-Soviet War. The Pakistani ISI recruited a lot of defectors, and they went after the Soviet Afghan. The same way that our Democrat Party is infiltrated by a left-wing militia is the same way that the Afghan-Soviet War was
Oh,
started,
I'm still on. Can you
and
get Danny a bottle of
we have
water?
to
Is
be
that okay?
mindful of that. It all starts
In
through
a few minutes.
Soviet
Can you get me a bottle of water?
tactics, like the
Is that
left
okay?
wing
Thanks, buddy.
is pushing. And if anybody watches this video online of Yuri Bezmenov explain exactly how information war on the United States uh, uh, emerges, then you pretty much understand that. You pretty much begin to understand how wars start. They start from the inside out of the United States, not from some other country invading with artillery, like a
Divide
lot
and
of people would
conquer,
expect.
man.
That's correct. Yep.
Divide and conquer. They've already, remember that they already singled us out. 74 million. First we were deplorables.
Yeah.
Now most of us are the unvaccinated. You know what I mean? Or the Trumpsters or the gunners. And you know what? Let me tell you something. At the
I
end,
did it. Hold on.
they really have to reread our constitutional rights and not try to rewrite it.
Let me
And it all depends, because we live in a republic. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a land of laws,
Let me say
not
something
in a
real quick here,
democracy.
Jose. I appreciate what you're saying about, they call us deplorables, and all this other negative stuff. We also have to be very aware that it is not okay for us to do the same thing to the other side. Does everybody agree with that? So
Agreed.
we may
I
not
agree with
agree
you.
with Democrats. And some of you may be Democrats. I think that's great. You have the right in this country to believe whatever you want to believe. We have to be very careful that we are not demonizing them, because, at the end of the day, we're all people. We all are trying to take care of our families, most of us. We all just want a good life, but we have different views of opinion on how to get there. So it's very easy to hate people. It's very easy. It's very hard to love them, especially when we don't necessarily agree with what they believe.
I
Very
understand
true.
what he's saying. I understand what he's saying, though, is, they're doing the divide and conquer. They're trying to label us instead of realizing we're all Americans. We're all fighting for our families. We're fighting for our lives. We're fighting to have the freedom to do what we want to do. And unfortunately, there's those in power are seeing this and going, wait a minute, they're not fighting back. They're not saying anything. We're not seeing any resistance. So they continue to do the divide and conquer. And that's what's happening. But deep down, we all have to realize we're all here for the same reason. We are all Americans. We're all trying to live our lives. And unfortunately, there comes a time when we have to start pushing back.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think when it comes time to push back, it's going to be very scary. What do you want to add, Steven?
I just want to say one thing without, I guess it's kind of borderline. I don't want to seem like a crazy alt-righter by saying this, but a lot of times we're told, we have the First Amendment because of the Second. And I guess my question, food for thought, or just, hypothetical situation, whatever you want to call it, when do we say, when do we recognize the line? When do we recognize when, okay, we've been let down by the legal system because they didn't uphold certain lawsuits, or they didn't find things unconstitutional. They didn't find things that are clearly illegal. They just they left things off. So how do we really know when it's time to act? How do we know when it's time to be that Jeffersonian, quote unquote, tyrant, or patriot? You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to phrase it in a better manner.
Yeah, when do we really take aggressive, massive action? I think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, again, we have the Second Amendment to defend ourselves. When do we know when that's not? I guess a lot of conservatives are like, we try to fight things as, in the legal realm as possible. We try to uphold the law. At some point, the law is no longer going to support us. The law is going to actually hurt us because we try to follow the law and the other side won't. That's really a main contributing factor as to why we lost the Vietnam War. Is the other side didn't care about the rules of engagement. They didn't care about, they just did guerrilla warfare and they did all these different things, whereas we try to uphold this conventional sense of fighting. So, when do we now establish our point of view of this? Enough is enough. We need to take action.
It only takes one person. And unfortunately, that one person is going to have to be somebody in some sort of a power situation. Just look what's happening with the critical race theory. And parents are finally standing up to these dictatorship school boards and saying enough is enough. Same with mask mandates. Now look what's happening with the army or with the military. They're being forced a vaccine that's not even FDA approved. All the other vaccines they have to take are FDA approved. What somebody in some sort of a power has to stand up and say, we've had enough. And then they have to have their followers, people who believe with them, finally not be afraid to stand up and say, I'm with you. Enough is enough. It's kind of like the show, the old movie where he says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Let's hear from Bill. Bill, when's enough for you? When do we, what's the line? Or Jose, what's the answer there?
Well, I think personally that the way that this is going, I think this is with the whole Second Amendment and the guns and all these things that the federal government wants to impose on us. I personally think that what we're going to see is the same thing that is currently happening with the marijuana issue. So you have states that it's legal, but it's still illegal in a federal way. So that means that the state police can't touch you, the local police can't touch you, the sheriff can't touch you, but a federal agent can touch you. And I think that eventually it's what will happen once we start losing this right.
Then you're going to see states starting to succeed if that's the case. Texas has already talked about it, and there's been kind of whispers about it from Florida succeeding if the federal government decides to take too much power. Now, here's the thing a lot of people don't realize. If the federal government decides to try to take over power, there has to be a state majority. So the state representatives have to get together, and there has to be like a 43% or 43 to 50 majority in order to allow the federal government to actually come on and take over and kind of just run the entire United States.
I think it will be unconstitutional, first of all, because it is written right there, the last phrase should not be infringed. However, we already saw what happened. Okay, I'll give you an example. What happened with Trump? Okay, and this to me was an abuse of power by one branch. And our Constitution clearly says that if one branch tries to dominate, the other two branch could create another branch and get rid of that branch. And we saw that with the legislative branch, because to me, I never felt that the Supreme Court, the judicial branch of this country, did anything to stand up, to interpret our Constitution rights, even if Donald Trump was at fault, even whoever it is at fault, I felt that the judicial branch got intimidated by the legislative branch, because when you look at history, more federal judges have been impeached than any other branch.
Well, you also have to realize if you look at some of these judges that are on there, especially the chief judge himself, his name's actually on the Epstein log. People have dirt on other people, so they get scared. And that's what happens, is what we're seeing, especially with the legislative branch, is they're ruling by fear. They're trying to instill fear into people. They're saying, hey, we've got this on you, vote our way. Or, you also got to look at whose money is filling their coffers here. Okay. Where is the money coming from? You've got the Rockefellers, you got the Soroses, they want a world domination. They want a one world nation, basically.
Okay, I got something to say here. A comment from YouTube that I think is very interesting. We'll get you the speaker's response to this. It's from Exploring the Unknown. It says, does anybody know why gun control was actually created? for when the Black Panthers marched on the Capitol and they created gun control to get guns out of the hands of minorities. What do you guys have to say about that? Jason, you go first.
Well, that's correct. It started with the same Marxism that's happening here today, and that fueled the Democrats to create a power vacuum, and they just ever since been hounding on this issue. Then you had people like Biden. I just find it amazing how the this BLM is like a new Black Panther movement, and it's a repeat of the '60s. And I find it really ironic how Biden became president when he's been in the Senate for how long has it been now? How long?
47 years.
47 years.
But now he can fix things.
Kind of like 1947. But yeah, exactly. And it's like, isn't this the same guy that created prisons for profit and the '94 crime bill? Well, what's going on here, folks? You know, it's just very ironic how he ends up being president. It's really ironic.
They do
We're
say
the
that
minority now.
history repeats itself. So, I mean, history does repeat itself. And unfortunately, when it does repeat, people they don't remember what the history was. And that's why they're trying to wipe out our history. They're trying to say, oh, no, well, you can't see this because this caused kind of a revolution type thing. And that's what they're looking at right now is we're actually on the front lines of a revolution. I strongly feel that way. I mean, one straw that broke the camel's back literally is what we're looking at.
Okay, so let's get back to the question here real quick though. Is the purpose of gun control to get firearms out of the hands of minorities? Steven.
I think it's to get the guns out of the hands of everyone. Believe, and again, somebody can correct me, the NFA was created in the 20s, like late 29.
1934 is when it passed. Yep. And
to get the Tommy guns out of people after the St. Valentine's shooting from Capone.
Correct.
So that would be, way before. There wasn't any specific minority there, unless you want to count, the Italians, the mafia, in that sense. But I think it's to get guns out of the hands of the common person that can compete with the government.
Yeah,
it's what Biden said.
They created this obfuscation between law-abiding gun owners and criminal gun owners, and this obfuscation it leads the government to question, okay, who are the law-abiding and who are not, and the only way they can do that is more totalitarian measures against the Second Amendment and getting it out of the hands of everybody. So they're taking really extreme measures, and this is totally unconstitutional. And people need to take it to these institutions and remind them of this.
Jason, let me ask you a question, man. Do you have word of the day toilet paper? Because you have said more words in this podcast episode that I have never heard before. It's just like, this guy must be Googling this shit real quick. Like, what crazy obfuscation?
Well, what word would you like me to?
No, I'm impressed. I'm impressed, dude. I think it's awesome. I think you're very smart, but yeah, I don't know any of these words. So,
wasn't the NRA?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wasn't the NRA one of the original functions were the blacks weren't allowed to have guns, and they fought for them. They won a case in order to allow blacks to have guns to protect themselves.
Yeah, so ultimately, the first time gun control was implemented in America was right before the American Revolution, when the British came here and attempted to go door to door and confiscate firearms in Concord. And that's really what led up to the shot that was heard from around the world, which started off the American Revolution. Americans had had enough. You've been pushing us. Now you're here to take our guns again, because it wasn't the first time. You're here to do it, and we're done. And then, if you remember, after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, Black people were freed from slavery, right? The South did not want black people to be considered citizens in America because if they were citizens, they would have a right to own guns. And I believe it was Frederick Douglass is who wrote in his journal, which you can still read on the government's website. He wrote that every freed black needed to go buy a gun. Now, you got to think guns were expensive back then, but you need a gun. And he said because what was happening is slave owners were trying to recapture the freed black community, re-enslave them, and the only way to stop that was to shoot them in the face. You know, I don't think gun control is about minorities. It's not about controlling. It's about controlling people. The wealthy, powerful people want to control everybody that's under them.
That's correct.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's extremism.
The reason they're doing it is because they actually fear us. Again, it's a fear.
Yes.
So they fear us because we're unpredictable. They don't know what we're going to do or how far they can push us.
They're going to be increasing the prices and taxes, and next thing, everybody's going to own a High Point.
Then we're all screwed.
Just wait for that mileage tax. That's coming too.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I don't know how that's going to work because they're taxing you when you pay the taxes on your car every year in the registration. There is a part for road tax, but you buy gasoline and it's tax, for the mileage as you're using it, you're being charged there, and now to add another tax, I don't know about that.
The way
You
that's
realize?
Yeah.
the way that's
You re-
gonna the way that's gonna work is they're either gonna make everybody put one of those little, like Progressive has, the safe driver thing up into your ODB box on your cars, or before you can buy gas, you have to enter your mileage with
your Social Security.
No. I mean,
No.
sometimes
Well, it
the
kind
gas.
of already is. It kind of already is with your credit card. You know what I mean? Your
Well,
information is there. But the way that I see it is, it's gonna turn out to be another England. Don't they pay a tax to watch TV? So
Yes, they
well,
do. They also pay a TV tax. Each TV you own in your home in the UK is taxed.
There's no way.
With an
That's for
illegal
real.
one, it's pretty stiff.
well, they're
well,
doing
guys,
that
good
already
night.
when you buy cable.
I'll stay
If
out here
you
listening.
if you've got cable, they're doing that already. You have to pay per television. You can only have up to 2 TVs. Anything extra, they're charging you for. So we're kind of already doing that with the private companies. But as far as the gas tax goes, the way I heard is that no matter how you pay, that information is in a database, and before you're allowed to get gas, you have to put in the mileage on your odometer, and then they will release the gas to you.
Okay, guys. Hold on one second. I'm going to mute everybody. We're going to wrap this up. I really appreciate everybody, all the speakers that came onto the stage. Thank you guys very much. It was really amazing to finally be able to listen to some of your voices. You guys have been on our live streams a lot, and I've never actually heard your voice, which is so it was really neat. Thank you to everybody that watched on Facebook, on YouTube. We really appreciate you guys. Join us next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Clubhouse. So you can follow me, Ryan G. Thomas, follow Florida Concealed Carry, and hopefully we'll have another really amazing conversation and really kind of figure this out. You know, we're all trying to support and defend the Constitution, and it's conversations like this. A lot of people were saying in the comments, like, what are you going to do to fight back? I think this is part of it. I think having the conversation is part of it. It's not enough, but I think it's part of it. So thank you guys very much. Go ahead, Jose.
I just wanted to say something. It's not what we're going to do because no one by themselves can do anything. And you know what? The pen is mightier than the sword. But right now, at this moment, it's our communication, our groups. That's what's mightier. We just got to keep spreading the word. Talk to people. You know, someone you can meet new. You know, I grew up in Massachusetts. You know what I mean? One of the worst states, okay? All my families, they've always owned guns. I started shooting at a very early age. But you know what? When you talk to people and educate them, the realities, you know what I mean? Give them a worst case scenario. Like I've always said, what happens if you're alone in your house, or what happens if you're driving? You know what I mean? Give them a worst case. Have them think and put themselves there in that instance where they have to decide my kids, my wife, myself. You know what I mean? Or what do I do? And guess what? It will surprise you. You know what I mean? And that's all we can do is just keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. Someone will listen. Good night, guys.
Yeah, we have to be stronger in numbers. I mean, that's the whole thing of how we can fight this and come out on top. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to be stronger in numbers.
Go ahead,
Ryan.
Joe.
No, I just wanted to say good night to everyone and phenomenal conversation.
Go ahead, Steven.
Night, everybody.
I was just gonna ask if you already got a bunch of topics planned out for your next episodes, or if you are accepting ideas for topics.
I
or
don't.
anything
Yeah.
like that.
No, I'd love to your guys' help with this. So, yeah, DM me in Instagram. That's like really the only place that I actually look at messages consistently. So if you guys are ever like trying to get a hold of me, Instagram is the easiest place for me to respond, which is why I like it. So DM me on Instagram and with any ideas, I think that'd be great.
All right. I have no social media, so
Okay, your life.
Are
I have
you
no
off
way
the
to contact.
grid? Are you off the grid, Steven?
A little bit. Yeah, I think I don't have Facebook. I don't have anything, so I stay away from all that because it's just a pile of cesspools. So
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
I last show that you had, I caught like the tail end of it. I get out late and stuff. I think Tiffany was sick or something. She's getting over something. I just want to know how she's doing.
Yeah, she's doing good. So she had surgery a week ago or so. So she's recovering from that. It was elective surgery. So like, so minor stuff, a breast lift, which she's been wanting for a long time. She asked me if she could do it. And I said, I'd love, if you want to do it, I'd love for you to do it. So she's recovering. She's good. She will be on the live stream this coming Monday. So it'll be awesome. And she did say, I'm going to need your help getting into the chair. And I said, that's fine. I'll hoist you up, whatever I got to do.
Well, your daughter's just like her.
Crazy, right?
The Paisley.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
Team
Paisley,
Tiff.
she
Sorry,
is
Ryan.
just like her.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming. Again, I greatly appreciate you. So I'm going to end the room. Everybody have a great night and be safe.
Night.
Night.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Thank you. Have a good one.
I don't know, guys. I think that was pretty dope. What do you guys think? I think that was pretty cool, man. 2 hours, though. But that was pretty cool. I liked it. Be safe, guys.